Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a February check-in. It's now the end of February and we're entering March. I'm doing this check-in video to talk about how my goals have gone in February, how my budget went, and also talk about my budget for next month, and also share some favorites from the month. I made a check-in video for January as well. You can watch that if you're interested. But this isn't meant to be a very serious video. I just thought it'll be nice for myself to do a monthly check-in to reflect on the month and see my progress on my goals or reflect on my budget and share them with you in case you're also on a similar journey. And it also might be nice if at the end of the year I can look back at all these check-in videos and see where my headspace is at throughout the year. So it's not meant to be a very serious video. I didn't really prepare too much. I just wrote down some points and I'll try to talk through them, but also try to keep it brief because I need to edit this video and get it out by the beginning of March as soon as possible. So without further ado, let's start with my goals check-in. If you remember, I have two soft money goals. The first one is to improve my relationship with consumerism, and the second is to prioritize value over price. So overall, focusing on quality over quantity and also trying to reduce my spending more for my own mental health than for like saving money or anything, although saving money is also helpful. At the start of February, it was after I filmed my January check-in, I did tell myself that I wanted to do a no-buy because I felt like I just needed a reset with my spending habits because I didn't spend all that little in January, and so I thought I wanted to cut back a bit in February. It was not very successful if we are thinking about it as a total no-buy because I did end up buying a few things, but overall I think it's still within limits that are acceptable to myself. And the reason why I couldn't really do a no-buy, or I failed at my no-buy for February, was because I was stressed. I think a lot of this month I was quite stressed, and I'll talk more about it later for my personal goals, but shopping is often my coping mechanism in times of stress. So I found myself leaning a bit more on that to cope with the stress that I was feeling. But I think towards the end of the month, so maybe the last week and a half, I started feeling a lot better. And so the conscious effort to not spend so much, I didn't have to put in as much effort to control myself as much as I did the first half of the month. And overall, I think I'm still keeping to my goal. So it's just a matter of how much energy I have to spend making sure that I'm keeping to my goal versus it being effortless because I'm in a less stressful place. Alright, next let's talk about my personal goals, which I mentioned was a source of stress for me. I think if I think about the first, say, 3/4 of this month, it was a bit of a struggle, and then the last week has been a bit better. Alright, let me talk about my first goal, which was to go to the gym twice a week and yoga twice a week. I don't really know where to start because this one was the one that I think was affected the most. There was one week this month where I didn't even go to the gym or to yoga. But to be fair, I was on my period and it was very painful for me to do either of those things. But I was also thinking that I used to put gym and yoga together as one category of fitness for myself. Like, this is the fitness aspect of my life that I'm trying to keep. But now I'm realizing that yoga and gym are actually two different things, and the reason is because the way that they fit into my life, I see it as two different things. Because with the gym, I can go down to the gym any time of the day, however it fits my schedule. But with yoga, there are more specific timings and dates that I'm able to go down for a class. It could be that the instructor I like doesn't teach on a certain day, or a particular class that I like is only at this timing on this day. So I'm more restricted to the timings of my yoga studio compared to the gym. So I find myself having to decide between the two. In my last video, I mentioned how I was thinking about stopping yoga, and some of you commented with your perspectives, and those were really helpful. Thank you so much if you left a comment. And I was thinking about it for a long time, and I was almost convinced about continuing with yoga once my membership expires, because there are certain aspects of it that I find really valuable and will not be the same if I just do yoga by myself or only go to the gym. But I think with the way that my schedule is right now, I'm leaning more towards stopping my membership once my membership expires. But until then, I will only focus on doing yoga. So the decision that I've come to after the end of this month is to temporarily pause going to the gym and focus solely on finishing up my yoga classes, because I bought a package of yoga classes, right? And this month I've actually finished paying myself back for that package that I bought last year. So what I want to do is focus on using up as many classes as I can before it expires. And then once it expires, I won't renew, and then I'll start going back to the gym again. I think that is the most sustainable for me right now, because I realized it was very hard for me to think about how many times I need to go to the gym this week, how many times have I gone to yoga this week, and it's just easier for me to focus on doing one thing at a time. I think if I had more time in my schedule, I could do both, but with all my existing commitments and obligations, I can only do one. I mean, if health and fitness wasn't a priority of mine, then I wouldn't do either. But because I still want to be active and making sure that I'm taking care of my physical health and fitness, I do want to do something. So it'll just be yoga for now. And then I'm choosing not to renew because between yoga and the gym is much more flexible. I can go any time of the day I want. And that is very useful because I have many other time-sensitive commitments. So I really would want that flexibility rather than commit myself to another yoga membership where I'll have another time-sensitive thing to try to Tetris into my schedule. So all my efforts are just to reduce my stress as much as possible. So starting in March all the way until maybe June, I'll just keep going for yoga, which is the same as what I've been doing last year. And then once my membership ends, I'll reassess how I want to incorporate gym back into my life. The second goal I had was to become a morning person and sleep early. This was a real struggle, especially at the start of this month. I couldn't bring myself to wake up at 6:30 a.m. and I think it really affected me because I didn't have as much time in the mornings to myself, and I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. And it can be anything from like editing my video to doing my Korean homework. What's important is that I have some time to myself in the morning before I go to work and before I get on with the rest of my day. And the days that I do manage to wake up, I feel very productive and good about myself. So like I really took things into my own hands and I subscribed to this alarm app on my phone. There's this app called Alarmy that I've been using for a long time, but always the free version. So they have a subscription plan and you'll have more options to customize your alarm. So they had a plan for $20 a year. So I subscribed to that plan and I set a mission for me to switch off my alarm, which is to type a phrase 3 times. And then I have to scan a barcode in order to switch off the alarm. So I set the barcode to be like my collagen powder in the kitchen. So that has been really effective. I've been using it the past 1.5 weeks and I've woken up at 6:30 a.m. much more regularly than in the first half of this month. It might seem quite extreme, but I'm really committed to wanting to wake up early, and I might not be able to always control when I sleep early, but at least I can control when I wake up, and then I can do more things with my day. And at the same time, I'm also trying to work towards sleeping earlier, maybe by 11 and then 10:30. But right now, it's still always around the 11:30 timing, which means I only get maybe 6.5 hours of sleep. I think also what has made it difficult was that I suddenly had a lot of social events this month. So that also resulted in some later than usual nights. Like I'll come home at 10 p.m. and then that'll push my bedtime to maybe midnight or past midnight. But I foresee my March being a lot emptier and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm feeling very tired and I don't want to say burnt out, but I'm just tired of going out so often. So hopefully March will be an emptier month for me, because part of what made February so stressful was all the social events on top of everything that I had to do outside of work, which is related to my YouTube channel, which is the third goal I'll talk about later. So yeah, it was really important for me to try to at least carve out some time for myself in the morning, and that's why I have to be quite militant about it and like even download the app and force myself to get up every morning to have that time for myself. So I'm very excited to continue using this app, and hopefully in the month of March I'll be able to make waking up early a more regular habit. And then at the same time I'll also work on sleeping early. Okay, next will be my third goal, which is related to my YouTube channel. I guess the goal is just to be consistent with my YouTube and have fun making videos. And I'm still doing that. It's just that February has been stressful because the past 2 videos I uploaded were very long videos. So the videos ended up being about an hour long, but the raw footage was 2 hours. So it took, I think, almost 6 to 8 hours for me to edit the whole clip. And my editing time is spread out throughout the week because apart from the weekends, I don't really have a block of time to edit for very long. So I'm editing in the morning or I'm editing after work. And then on the weekends, I also have to film a new video and then continue editing whatever video that I would like to publish that week. And so because the videos were so long, especially the skincare video, I was initially about a week ahead. Like the video that I would want to publish for that week, it would be ready by the previous week. So I thought I was ahead, but then I didn't expect how long it would take to edit, and so it took me 2 weeks to edit, and so I found myself still editing it like hours before I upload it. And I think that contributed to the stressful feeling because I'm so close to the deadline. And then the makeup video also, I somehow managed to edit it within a week, but it was a lot of effort. And I think that was the same week that I couldn't even go out to exercise because I felt like I had a deadline that I needed to meet. And so obviously it's not sustainable because I cannot be feeling like I have to catch up to my publishing deadline every single week. Then that wouldn't give me space to do other things in my life, like exercising or even life admin things like cleaning the house. And so I've been thinking about how I can either do less things or how I can make it such that I can catch up and be ahead again. And my goal to publish every week also, I was thinking, could I be more flexible with that? And it's not like I publicly declared that I will upload one video every week. Like I never promised anybody, I never made a public announcement that that will be my schedule. It's just my own personal schedule for myself, and the thought of breaking my own promise to myself would feel very awful. But I know that maybe that's just me being very hard on myself. And I'm sure it's okay if I miss a week of uploading because I don't want to just upload for the sake of uploading. I do want to publish something that I'm proud of. But I think when you're a perfectionist like me, it's very hard to find that line between this is good enough and like this is trash and you really shouldn't just publish it for the sake of publishing. So that's something I'm still negotiating with. And there's a book I read at the beginning of this month that really helped me clarify what I would want to do with my time in terms of my work. And I'll talk about it in my favorites later. But it's just been a very stressful and at the same time reflective month for myself. I'm sorry, I'm feeling like this video is quite scatterbrained. And it was actually quite difficult to start filming this video, even though I keep telling myself it's just a chill check-in for yourself, not for anybody else. But I think I just naturally put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'll probably cringe a lot editing myself later on. But at least I'm filming this video, and that is already a push against my perfectionism. So yeah, in summary, that was my month. I felt quite overwhelmed because of the long videos I had to edit, and so they took up a lot of time, and then because of that I felt like I didn't have time to do a lot of other things related to my goals like exercising. And also not being able to wake up early probably added fuel to that fire because then I didn't have as much time and then I would beat myself up over it. And I am aware that I'm being hard on myself, but I just feel like if I could be more disciplined with myself, I could make things easier for myself. So I do have this feeling sometimes that I'm my biggest problem. I'm the one that is scheduling my calendar to its limit, squeezing as many things as I can on my to-do list. So I think I need to reflect on that a bit. Next month I'm actually going on a trip for a week, so I'm hoping that I can also think about it when I have that headspace, when I'm not, working full-time. And probably I won't be editing any videos also. Hopefully I'll have that mental space to think about what it is that I want to do and if there's anything that I need to let go of. Because a few times this month I also thought about maybe even quitting Korean. Because Korean homework is also another thing that stresses me out because I have homework to do and spelling to study for, and it just feels like I have so much on my plate. And yeah, it's entirely self-inflicted, so I feel like even just complaining about it feels very self-absorbed because you did this to yourself. So I really hope March will be an easier month for me. Maybe I just need to give myself permission to skip a week of uploading if that is what I need to make a good video. So I hope that'll be okay. So that is my update for February. But things are not as bleak as they sound because the past week has actually been pretty good. And I'm hoping that it will carry into March. I think just the middle of the month when I was editing those 2 very long videos, then that probably added to all the stress I was feeling. Alright, let's talk about how my budget went for February. I was looking through my expense tracker, and I know this in the back of my head also, but my biggest expenditure this month was actually on health-related expenses. So I did a health screening, and then from that health screening, I bought a few supplements for me and my mother. And so that added up to quite a bit, and I've offset it with my medium-term sinking fund, but it was quite a big expense in February. Like, one thing I learned from my health screening was that I'm vitamin D deficient, which is quite common, I think, among people with my skin tone. So I've been trying to supplement with vitamin D. And then I'm also taking like omega-3 fish oil pills. So there was a sale in Watson's and I just bought a few things. So that was the biggest expense for February. Everything else I think is within range. Sinking fund also within range, even though I was trying to not buy so much, but I still bought some things eventually. But I think it's still within range. So nothing much to note there. And then for extra income from cashback and interest and carousel, I got about $120 in total. So I will just put that in my medium-term sinking fund, also mostly to offset all my health spending that I did this month. So with that, my budget for March, I think I will reduce my food and public transport just slightly because I'll be overseas for 1 week next month. And so because of that, and also because I am done paying my yoga membership and I'm also not going to the gym, I have quite a bit of extra funds that I can redirect to other places. So for March, I'm gonna put in $100 to my health fund to replenish it. I have this health fund that is for things like doctor's appointments, for medication, for supplements. It's just a sinking fund that I keep around and that I maintain at about $100 for these kinds of health-related expenses. And if I don't use it, then I won't replenish it, but if I do use it, I'll try to replenish it. I think it's just nice to have a separate health fund that is not part of your sinking fund or your medium-term sinking fund for these kinds of discretionary expenses that are related to your health. So it's just something that I have. So I'm topping up $100 to it, and then I'm also topping up a bit more into my holiday fund and my family fund. So other than that, there's no other changes. My insurance and investments category are still the same. And to end this video, I want to talk about some of my favorites. I actually don't have that many. I was quite surprised. I think it's because I was so stressed this month that I didn't really have time to explore new things. I was just either stressing out about my YouTube channel or stressing out about the fact that my goals are slipping away. But I did read a couple books that I want to share with you because they did end up being my favorites, and also something else that I'll talk about. But first, let me talk about my books. So the first book I read at the beginning of this month was this book by Newport called Slow Productivity. I don't know if you've heard of Newport, but he's one of my favorite authors. He's become one of my favorite authors. He wrote the book Digital Minimalism, which I also have, but this is his latest book and I borrowed it from the library. I loved it so much that I bought my own copy because I would love to have this in my collection so that I can refer to it if I need to. This was the book that I was reading that made me question why I was doing so many things. So I think it probably also contributed to my feeling of overwhelm because I felt like I needed to do something about how much stress I was feeling. But even then, it was still a very eye-opening book. I would like to do a separate book review type of video where I talk about some of the books that have changed my life. So I don't really want to talk too much in depth about this book in this short favorites section of this video. But if you're feeling overwhelmed at work or you feel like you want to improve just the way that you are doing things in your life, I highly recommend this book. Sorry, it's such a poor review, but this book has really been a healing experience to read, and I've been recommending it to people. And obviously I love it enough to buy my own copy. The thing that I appreciate the most about his writing is that he always has very practical and immediately actionable tips that support the idea or the philosophy that he is talking about in his book. So when I finished the book, I felt like there were a lot of things that I could immediately implement in my life. Hopefully I'll make another video about my favorite books and then I can talk more in depth about this one. But yeah, it's only February, but I think this is one of the best books I've read so far. Then the second book that I am currently reading, but I know that it's a favorite of mine, is called What Money Can't Buy by Michael J. Sandel. I actually started reading this book last year, at the end of last year, but then because it was a library loan, I had to return it before I finished it because I was going overseas for quite a while. And so I didn't finish it then. So I thought that I would continue reading this after I finished the Slow Productivity. So I borrowed it again from the library and I'm just continuing where I left off. So I'm actually not even done with this book. I think I have 1.5 more chapters, but each chapter is very long. But I just find it so insightful, and it still amazes me even though I was halfway through reading it last year. The full title of this book is What Money Can't Buy: The Moral Limits of Markets. So the author of this book, I think, is a philosopher. I don't think I have the headspace right now to talk about this book in detail in this video, but if you're interested in economics and philosophy, I highly recommend reading this book because one of the biggest insights that I've gained from this is that when you put a price on something, it changes the value of that item. Even if you think that it improves everyone's well-being if something can be bought and sold, there are certain values and ways of thinking that we lose when everything is put up for sale. That is the best I can do right now. Hopefully I can talk more about this book in the future, but I highly recommend. You can borrow it from the library. And it's good enough that I might even get my own copy in the future once I finish it. So these two books have been huge favorites this month, and I hope I get to finish this before my trip so that I don't have to bring it overseas. The final favorite I want to talk about is more like a topic, and that is researching MBTI. If you've never heard of MBTI, it's like the Myers-Briggs type indicator. You know, when people ask you if you are an ESFJ or an INTJ, that's referring to the Myers-Briggs type indicator. I think you've probably heard of the 16 Personalities website. But anyway, how it all started was some of my colleagues and we were just casually talking about it and reading up about it, and then it became like a full-blown obsession for us. So we've been having really good discussions. All of us have been doing some research and reading up more in depth about this whole personality theory. And then because of our interest, we also started watching this Korean reality show called MBTI House together. It's not even so much about the personality theory stuff, which I really love, but the fact that we are all interested in this topic together and we're all researching together and sharing information together. I haven't had that feeling in a long time. It's a bit like we're in school and doing a project on our personal interests. So that has really cheered me up a lot the past week. And I mean, reading stuff about MBTI is just really fun also. And some mornings I feel like I can't do anything else except read up about MBTI, and that really makes me feel better for some reason. So it's not a very specific favorite, but reading up about MBTI and doing research on it has sparked a lot of joy for me this month. It's a bit like reading a book where I'm learning all these new concepts and ideas, and I can kind of implement this knowledge immediately in real life. I've gained so much insight about my own thinking process because I've been reading so much about my personality type. I'm an INFJ, by the way, and then I would read up about my personality type, and I would read up about my colleague's personality type, and then I'll try to think about what types I think my family is. So that's been really fun, and it's been making the days a bit more fun and lighthearted. So I guess I'm trying to hold on to those moments of lightheartedness and fun, even amidst the stress. I think I tend to get in my own head when I'm stressed out, and then I get very hard on myself. But what's important is that I make sure I still make an effort. I think at one point in the month I even told myself, at least you got up and brushed your teeth and washed your face. Like, that is the bare minimum, and I did it. So as long as I'm still doing the bare minimum, I'm okay. Like, I don't have to be so hard on myself on getting this and that done every single day. Maybe I'll talk about it more in a future vlog or something, like just all these little things that I do to help myself not feel so caught up in my own head, and just to give myself some perspective, because when I get into a tunnel vision, it's very hard to see the big picture and the bigger reason why I'm doing something and what is ultimately important. So that's something I hope I keep doing, which is to maintain perspective. I think I'll end the video here. I've been filming for about an hour, and honestly, I'm not sure if anything I have said so far has been coherent. I'm sorry if this video comes across as very scattered and messy. I'll do my best when I'm editing this video to have it be somewhat coherent. But thank you so much for watching. I hope March will be a better month for both you and me. I have videos coming soon that I think might be interesting. At least they were interesting to me. And I'll go and have lunch now, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!